So Alex Eala just walked off court Pietrangeli with a win she had no business making look that complicated. 6-0 in the first set against Magdalena Frech. Then 3-6 in the second. Then 6-4 in the third, saving break points at 4-all when the entire match was threatening to slip sideways. That final scoreline, 6-0, 3-6, 6-4, tells you something specific about where Eala is right now, and if you want to understand what happens next, because what happens next is Wang Xinyu, and that match carries history, you need to understand what that scoreline actually reveals. But before we get to the Wang match, and before we talk about what happened 4 months ago in Auckland, and before we break down how to actually watch this thing wherever you are in the world, I want to spend a minute on what Eala did in that first set. Because it was genuinely startling. A bagel. On clay. Against a player who reached a career-high ranking of 22 in October of last year. Frech is not a pushover on this surface. She's Polish, she grew up on clay, she knows how to compete on it. And Eala dismantled her in that first set with a level of ball striking that didn't look like it belonged to someone who'd won only twice in her last 5 matches coming in. That's the tension at the center of Eala's 2026 season. The peaks are real. A quarterfinal in Dubai where she earned the right to stand across the net from Coco Gauff. A round of 16 in both Indian Wells and Miami. A career-high ranking of world number 29 back in March. She has proven beyond any doubt that she belongs in the upper tier of women's tennis. Her 2026 season record sits at 16 wins and 11 losses, with over $500,000 in prize money earned. Those are not numbers you accumulate by accident. Those come from sustained competitive quality across months of play. But then the clay arrived, and a different pattern emerged. A round of 16 loss in Linz. A round of 32 exit in Stuttgart against Leylah Fernandez, who used her forehand to dictate from the first ball. Then Madrid, where Eala beat Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 6-3 in the first round, and then got absolutely taken apart by Elise Mertens in the second, 2-6, 1-6. 3 tournaments on European clay before Rome. 3 early exits. And after that Madrid loss, something interesting happened. Eala withdrew from the WTA 125 event in Catalonia. She went home. Not to Manila. To the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, the place she's trained since she was a teenager, the place where her game was built. The academy posted pictures of her on their clay courts, working with her team, under the same Mallorcan sun that shaped the greatest clay court player who ever lived. That decision, to skip a tournament, to go back to the foundation, to invest preparation time rather than chase ranking points, tells you something about the seriousness of the project here. Eala is not just grinding through the clay swing hoping for results. She went back to recalibrate. And what we saw in that first set against Frech, at least for those 30-odd minutes, looked like someone who found something in Mallorca worth bringing to Rome. Now, Wang Xinyu. The 31st seed here, world number 33, standing between Eala and the third round at a WTA 1000 event on clay for the first time. These two have played once before, and the details of that match matter. Auckland, January 10th. The ASB Classic semifinals. Eala was the 4th seed, Wang the 7th. The match lasted 2 hours and 47 minutes, the longest of the entire tournament. Eala won the first set 7-5 after being down 4-0. She clawed back from a 4-game deficit to take the opener, which is the kind of thing that would break a lot of opponents' belief. But Wang didn't break. She won the second set 7-5, surviving a mid-set wobble of her own. And in the third set, Eala's body started to betray her. She took a medical timeout for back spasms while trailing 3-0. She fell to 5-1. And then, because this is who Eala is, she won 3 straight games to make it 5-4 before Wang finally closed it out in the 10th game. After the match, Wang called Eala an absolute fighter. That quote has circulated widely in Filipino tennis circles, and it captures something genuine. Eala's ability to compete through physical adversity, to refuse clean losses, to make opponents work for every single point even when her body is failing, is one of the defining characteristics of her game. It is also, if we're being honest, something that can work against her. because the effort required to come back from 4-0 down and 5-1 down and to play through back spasms for nearly 3 hours is effort that compounds. It costs something. And the question for the rematch is whether Eala can avoid needing to spend that kind of energy in the first place. Wang comes into this match with a specific profile that makes her a dangerous opponent regardless of surface, but an especially interesting one on clay. She's 24 years old, stands 6 feet tall, hits a big ball from both sides, and plays right-handed with a two-handed backhand. Her 2026 season reads 15 wins and 11 losses. She made the final in Auckland, losing to Elena Svitolina in straight sets. She reached the 4th round of the Australian Open, beating Ostapenko and Noskova before losing to the 4th seed Amanda Anisimova. Her career-high ranking of 30, set in February, represents a genuinely impressive rise for a player who was ranked 99 at the end of 2021. But there's a complication, and it's a significant one. Wang's clay court record across her career is 41 wins and 38 losses. That's a 51.9% win rate. On hard courts, she sits at 57%. On grass, 64%. Clay is clearly her weakest surface by a meaningful margin, and when you look at the specific results this spring, the picture gets worse. She lost in the second round in Madrid to Laura Sampson, a Czech teenager who was born in 2008 and had barely played WTA main draw matches. Before Madrid, Wang was at the WTA 250 in Rouen, where she came through qualifying and beat Chloe Paquette in 3 sets before retiring injured against Sorana Cîrstea in the round of 16, trailing 3-5. Tennis Explorer lists an injury period from April 16th to the 23rd, which aligns with that Rouen retirement. So Wang arrives in Rome as the 31st seed with a first-round bye, but she arrives with a recent injury concern and a clay court record that has never inspired confidence. Her Italian Open history is blunt. She's 1-3 in 3 previous appearances, with the best result of the second round in 2024. Last year, she lost in the first round. This is not a player who has figured Rome out. Here's where this gets tactically interesting, though, and why the match is genuinely difficult to call. Wang's biggest weapon is her raw power from the baseline. At 6 feet tall, she generates pace that most players on tour simply cannot match. When she's hitting clean, her forehand in particular can overwhelm opponents who sit behind the baseline and try to trade blows. And her serve, while not elite, benefits enormously from her height and gives her cheap points that smaller players have to manufacture differently. Eala, at 5'7", gives up 7 inches in height. She doesn't overpower opponents. Her game is built on speed, variety, timing, and competitive stubbornness. She moves exceptionally well, she reads the court intelligently, and she has a backhand that can redirect pace with precision. What she doesn't do, what she's never done consistently, is dictate long rallies from the baseline on slow surfaces. Her forehand, while improved considerably over the past 18 months, is not a rally-ending weapon on clay the way it can be on hard courts. The arithmetic of this matchup is that Wang will look to shorten rallies through sheer ball speed, while Eala will try to extend them through movement and placement. On clay, that calculation theoretically favors Eala, because the surface slows the ball down and gives the mover more time. But theory and reality diverge on clay more than on any other surface, because the footing is unstable, the bounces are higher, and physical endurance matters in a way it simply doesn't during a quick hard-court exchange. And here's what makes the Frech match relevant preparation for understanding what might happen. That second set against Frech, the one Eala lost 3-6, happened because Frech adjusted. She started taking the ball earlier, she moved inside the baseline, and she disrupted the rhythm that Eala had established in the first set. The moment an opponent takes time away from Eala on clay, her margin shrinks. She needs that extra half-second the surface provides. When she gets it, she's dangerous. When she doesn't, her shot selection becomes more defensive, and against a player with Wang's power, defensive tennis is a losing proposition. The third set against Frech showed something important, though. Eala found a way to reclaim the initiative. She held serve under genuine pressure at 4-4, and she broke to win the match at 5-4. The mechanism was interesting. She started targeting Frech's backhand side more aggressively, drawing shorter balls, and then stepping into the court to take the forehand on the rise. It was proactive tennis, the kind of tennis that requires confidence and timing rather than power. If she can replicate that against Wang, she has a real path to victory. Wang's backhand, while solid, is less consistent than her forehand, and when Wang is forced to generate pace from that side rather than redirect it, she tends to miss more frequently. The other factor is the return game. Eala converted 6 break points against Frech, including the decisive break at 5-4 in the third. Against Wang's serve, which comes in with more pace and a higher bounce thanks to the height advantage, Eala will need to be even sharper on return. In Auckland, one of the reasons the match went so deep was that neither player could establish a comfortable service hold rhythm. If that pattern repeats on clay, where service holds are generally more fragile anyway, we could be looking at another marathon. Now let me tell you how to actually watch this. The Italian Open runs from May 5th through the 17th at the Foro Italico in Rome, and the broadcast coverage is extensive. In the United States, the primary broadcaster is Tennis Channel, which carries live coverage of the WTA and ATP draws. Tennis Channel is available through cable packages and streaming platforms including Fubo and DirecTV Stream. If you're in the UK, Sky Sports has the rights, specifically Sky Sports Tennis, Sky Sports Action, and Sky Sports Main Event. In Australia, beIN Sports carries the tournament. In the Philippines, where Eala's matches draw massive viewership, the Italian Open is available on Premier Sports 2 and can be streamed for free through the Blast TV app. In Canada, TSN has the broadcast rights. For viewers in France, Eurosport carries the tournament. In Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, Sky Deutschland is the broadcaster. And across much of Asia and the Middle East, beIN Sports holds the regional rights. For viewers in India, FanCode is the platform. The WTA website also offers match highlights and live scoring if you can't access a full broadcast. Scheduling is still being finalized for the second-round matches. Based on the draw progression, Eala vs. Wang is likely to be scheduled for Thursday, May 7th or Friday, May 8th. Given Eala's significant fan base and the storyline of the Auckland rematch, there's a reasonable chance the match gets placed on one of the more prominent courts at the Foro Italico, potentially even Pietrangeli, where Eala just played her first-round match. One thing worth mentioning about the broader draw context, the winner of Eala Wang is projected to face Elena Rybakina in the third round. Rybakina, the second seed, the reigning Australian Open champion, the world number 2. Eala and Rybakina have never played each other. That potential matchup has been discussed extensively in tennis media this week, and it adds a layer of significance to the Eala Wang match that goes beyond the immediate result. For Eala, beating Wang wouldn't just be revenge for Auckland. It would earn her a shot at one of the 2 or 3 best players in the world, on one of the biggest stages in women's tennis, in a third-round match at a WTA 1000 on clay. That's the kind of opportunity that can accelerate a career. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Wang is a legitimate opponent with real weapons, and Eala's clay court season has been more struggle than triumph despite the bright spots. 3 wins in 8 matches on European clay is not the record of someone who has solved this surface. What it is, though, is the record of someone who is still in the process of solving it. And that process is where the story lives. Eala's relationship with clay is evolving in real time. She trains at the Nadal Academy, on clay courts, under coaches who understand the surface better than almost anyone in the sport. Her footwork has improved noticeably over the past year. Her ability to construct points through angles and depth rather than pace has developed. The bagel set against Frech wasn't a fluke, it was the expression of skills that exist, but haven't yet become consistent. The question is whether those skills can hold up across a full match against a bigger, more powerful opponent who will test every dimension of her clay court game. Wang, for her part, has her own questions to answer. The Rouen retirement raises fitness concerns. The Madrid loss to a teenager raises confidence concerns. Her career clay court record raises surface suitability concerns. She has the talent and the weapons to win this match comfortably if she plays her best tennis. But her best tennis on clay has appeared less frequently than on any other surface, and the last time she played a meaningful match on the surface, she didn't finish it. What I'll be watching for specifically is how the first 4 or 5 games unfold. If Eala comes out with the same intensity she showed in the opening set against Frech, if she's hitting clean, moving forward, taking the ball on the rise, then Wang will be under immediate pressure to elevate her own level on a surface where elevation is harder for her. Conversely, if Eala starts slowly, if the rust of the clay swing reasserts itself in those early games, Wang's power will take over quickly. The opening 10 minutes will likely tell us which version of each player showed up, and that initial read will shape the entire match. There's a moment in the Auckland semifinal that keeps coming back to me. Eala was down 5-1 in the third set, dealing with back spasms, and she won 3 straight games. She didn't win the match, but she made Wang earn every step of the finish. That kind of competitor doesn't get easier to play as the match goes on. She gets harder. Wang knows this. She called Eala an absolute fighter 4 months ago, and nothing about Eala's season since then suggests that description has become any less accurate. The Foro Italico is one of the most beautiful venues in tennis. The clay is red, the architecture is grand, the Roman pines frame the courts against the sky. It is a place that rewards patience and punishes impatience, that demands footwork and exposes those who don't have it, that turns 3-set matches into physical examinations. Eala has her first win here now. Wang has never won here comfortably. When they walk onto that court for the second round, neither player will be arriving with the comfort of past success at this venue. Both will be building something new in real time under the Italian sun. If you want to see how this story ends, find your broadcast, set your alarm if you need to, and watch. Because whether it's Eala's competitive fire or Wang's raw power that carries the day, this is the kind of match that reminds you why tennis at its best is a conversation between 2 people trying to solve each other. And sometimes the most interesting conversations happen not between the favorites on center court, but between 2 players in the second round who have something personal to settle.